Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the St. Louis Parish Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lane, and this week I'm joined by Father Luke. Please forgive me. How do you say your last name?
Poczatek.
Poczatek.
That's the American pronunciation of it. So sometimes people from Poland will tell me how to say my last name. So it's Poczatek. And yeah.
Well, I'm glad you know both pronunciations.
Now
you've learned.
Now. So.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for being here, Father. I would like to ask you some questions about our parochial school. So, St. Louis School, what's the official title of the establishment?
I feel bad for not knowing if there's an official title, but I think it's just called St. Louis Catholic School. So
that makes sense. School. So, I don't know too much about the school. I know K through 8. I know some of the teachers. I know some of the parents. Mimi, with the principal, was on here a couple months ago, so I got to speak with her. But I just want to find out what you do over there, if anything, if it's a little bit, if it's a lot. Just, kind of tell me about your experience with it.
Absolutely. So when I came in December, I believe it was my second day in the parish, I came to the school assembly, which they gather every Friday. And I came, the last parish I was at, the school had maybe a little over 200 students. And so I was telling people that it took me about 5 to 6 months to get to know most of the names on a regular basis. So I was pretty confident. And I've gotten to know some other priests where they'll go through the school and they have this gift for just remembering people's names. And so I was just really impressed. So when I was ordained a priest, I was like, I'm going to know every child's name, every teacher that goes by. But when I walked into St. Louis, I was like, okay, here we go. Day one. And the assembly, it was so large. I've never seen a school this big. Now, I know there are a couple large schools around here. I know the regional school in Woodbridge and the Basilica up north is a very large school, but I was just very impressed. And Father Hare, I believe, told me it was 500 students.
Yeah.
So I was blown away. Very impressed. But we hit it off day one, and I was just very welcomed, very impressed, especially I walked into some of the younger grades and they didn't even know me for like 2 minutes and they were already like, hey, Father Luke, great to see you. So I was just very overwhelmed by the love and generosity and just welcoming.
That's school. Great.
So
I know, so you mentioned Aquinas Regional School. I attended for 7th and 8th grade, and it's connected to Our Lady of Angels Parish. And we had, I wouldn't say regular visits. I think it's just whenever the priests there were available. But tell me about that. Do you have a schedule that you follow? Some classes you try to maybe get to know? Like, what's your task list, let's say?
Father here gave me, at the start of when I came here, kindergarten through 3rd grade. Would be weekly visits. So Thursdays and Fridays I would go and see them. And then also the preschoolers, I would periodically try to come in and say hi to them. There were like 60 preschoolers. So I was very impressed there. But I would go in and see the younger grades Thursdays and Fridays, and we would cover different topics each week or try to build on something, or sometimes it was just a questionnaire. And so aside from that, a lot of the school, just being a part of parish life and part of our parish family, it was just a ministry of presence. If they have certain events going on, being present for those events. But with the grades, I wasn't visiting on a weekly basis. My plan throughout the year was if I had the morning Port Clare Mass, then I would come over for the opening prayer and just visit one class and pray with them and talk to them for a little bit. Or sometimes in the middle of the day, I also really love coming at lunch sometimes and just if you're having like a busy morning or there's a lot of stuff you're trying to get done or your head's about to explode for different reasons, just going into the lunchroom, sitting with a class, and you're just like, things are back in perspective. So,
well, I don't think I'd be able to do that until I have a student at the school. Luckily, they have a pretty good security over there, so I don't think I can just walk in, but...
Okay, you mean that you're just coming in there? John Nail, he is an excellent security, so I've gotten to know him pretty well. And
John's a cool guy.
Yeah.
So, tell me, any cool events that the school does? Anything stand out that you've noticed? Like, wow, this is a really cool thing that they do, and they do a great job putting it on.
A couple of things that I think are unique to St. Louis School. One is once a month, I believe it is, at the school assembly, they have awards they give out, like a virtue award, a virtue of the month.
Okay.
And the teachers will pick a student that has exemplified that virtue during the month.
Wow, that's great.
So I believe the last one was zeal. And so there'd be, and every class is broken up into 2 sections. So there's 2 kindergarten classes, 2 first grade classes. And there was a student for each that was given a virtue award for the month. So I was very impressed day one that we're giving awards for people, students who show an excellence in virtue and just building of character there, not just academic.
Right. That's good messaging, because it's not just, oh, we want you to study, get good grades. It's, we want you to be good people.
And connected with that also, they'll have events during the year where they'll gather for prayer, or some group, like during Lent, there'd be organized Stations of the Cross for the school. We had a member of the school where a family member passed away, and so the school gathered in prayer, prayed the Divine Mercy Chaplet for this member of the family, and it was just very beautiful. Yeah. She was a teacher in the school for many years, so she was known by many of the students and the faculty for many years. So that's little things like that where I was just very impressed with. The school is not just here for academics, but they're really a family, and so they gather for what you would call, I guess, family events, Christmas caroling, or different seasonal holidays. They were gathering for different events such like that. And then the year ended with the school play, which was a lot of fun as well. So they did The Sound of Music. That's a good one. I believe it was mid-May, early May.
Okay.
So,
wow. Question for you. We recently had, I would say, monumental, I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but new Pope was elected. And not only that, American Pope. Did you see any effects in the school?
Yes. Well, first off, I was just very excited about the conclave coming up and the new Pope. I don't know if it's because of where I'm at as a priest. Like, I was just very aware of what was going on after Pope Francis passed away, and just preparing for the election of a new Pope. I was very excited. And so talking with Father O'Hare and Father Thompson about how are we going to get people from the parish excited and involved in anticipating the election of a new Pope. Yeah. And so my thoughts were about the school. You know, I would visit the classrooms, in particular the middle school, and just talking about the history of the conclave, how a Pope is elected, what we go through, you know, what are things to pray for. Yeah. And it was just very beautiful to see the questions students had. And I would even mention, I mean, the big thing I would say that hit me with the students was, please God, like, the next Pope that you would see elected, like, you may know this Pope for going into your adult years. Yeah. So you may even have children that won't even know another Pope other than Pope Leo, depending on how long God gives them in this life. So that was really exciting to just see, and just to see it register with the students, like, oh, like, we don't know anybody. A lot of them didn't know the Pope before Pope Francis. And so this was a huge step, seeing Pope Leo come in. So I remember when I came over, the bells were ringing, the white smoke came out. So super excited, came into the school, and I announced it on the speaker that we saw white smoke, so follow your teachers for what, you know, is next. And you could hear in the back through the halls, kids just yelling and screaming and, like, excited. So that was really beautiful to see that, like, the students were really excited about a new Pope. It was really emotional. And then also, on top of that, as we know, it was an American Pope. Yeah. So that was like excitement on top of excitement. Like, they would have been excited hearing any Pope, you know, as they were learning about the names, but then for it to be someone that's close to home, and someone who went to a parochial school as well, like, to tell the students, like, Pope Leo grew up sitting in classrooms like this. Yeah. And isn't it amazing? Yeah. So for it to hit and then to just be excited. And kind of like the same thing with me. As soon as, you know, I got to St. Louis, they were like, hey, Father Luke, welcome. Kindergarten was coming back from a field trip. And so they come off the bus and they're already chanting Pope Leo's name. I was like excited. I was like, wow, it's just like he gets a win here. So that was just beautiful to see the spirit of the school just really embrace that. And their hearts are just like wide open. So very, very beautiful to see. But yeah, the conclave was definitely a highlight, I think. And to see it through the lens of the school was really beautiful. Yeah.
Kind of double whammy. You're right. How often do you get to see the election of a new pope in your lifetime? Remember it. And then on top of that, an American pope. So it's like double joyous celebration there.
Grew up in a school like you guys. From around here. So
last thing I want to know. Sometimes children have a knack for being very honest or saying just something really out of pocket. Do you have any funny stories?
Oh, great question. Yes. I could probably definitely go on, but a lot of great moments of honesty and also just questions. I mean, their questions are awesome for all the grades. And
we've had some classes submit questions for the podcast, and some of them are surprisingly deep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you could definitely see the personality of a class. I don't know if you know what class they're coming from, but over the past 6 months, I've gotten to know a number of the classes pretty well, and you could see the personality of a class come out in their questions.
Interesting. Just based off maybe what they're learning or how they're developing
right.
as a community, like the 26 in the class.
Yeah. Like one thing I learned about kindergarten, like approaching graduation, is this totally went over my head all these years, and then it just blew my mind. Kindergarten comes from the German phrase, the children's garden. So the idea of kindergarten is that children grow like plants in a garden through nurturing, through creativity, through being themselves, and when I was reflecting on that, I was like, a lot of the children in kindergarten were asking questions about creation, about God, like who created God? Yeah. And I would be like, whoa, yeah. And it was coming from kindergarten. I was like, well, this would make sense in terms of where you're at. Like at 4 or 5 years old, you're growing. You're really discovering who you are in a very real way.
Right.
Where you're aware of the world and more aware of yourself. And so like, who am I? And who is God? And who made us? That's like the catechism of the Catholic Church right there. That's, who made us? Where do we come from? Who is God?
Yeah.
Pope says our hearts are restless until they rest in you, Lord. So that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Second grade was sacramental prep. So a lot of questions about confession, First Communion. And I think they were blown away to know that a priest goes to confession. Like when I tell them I go to confession too, they're like, what? That's crazy. So questions like that. One of the 5th grade classes, they were very big into sports.
Sure. Makes total sense.
So you could say anything about sports, but then connect it, talk about the sacraments, and it was a great switch they could talk about. But you could say anything in there. I approve of this team. I don't approve of this team. And you'll just get hazing or cheering.
Yeah.
So those were funny stories. And yeah, just different questions about your life, the life of a priest.
Yeah.
They're like, so you have siblings? You have brother? Do you have a room? I'm like, yes, I have a room. I have a desk. I have a chair.
Yeah.
So it's cool to just be able to kind of tell them that priests are people too.
Yeah, and what is cool, my kids are very young, almost 2 and 8 months old, so they're not asking verbal questions yet. They are curious, but it's really fascinating. Kind of, I'm sure this carries over into kindergarten and even the higher grades, but you just kind of watch them experience the world, and then when they ask you a question, you can kind of trace back or follow that train of thought, like, oh, they're probably asking this question because of this. So for example, who created God? More than likely they can trace themselves back. Okay, mom and dad made me, grandma and grandpa made mom and dad, and they can maybe follow that until, well, who started it?
Right.
And that's a question that I think we as adults, humanity, wrestles with constantly, So my point there is the children have just this such innocence when experiencing the world, and you see that with how they interact with the world, but then with the questions that they ask, it makes you think. You're like, wow, I That was deep, kid. Yeah.
Don't even realize how deep that was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're living it. They're experiencing it for the first time. So, to be honest, actually, sometimes I'll bring in the Sunday's gospel. That was one thing I was trying to do, was I would go and bring the Sunday gospel, and I would kind of just see if there were any thoughts that would stir for the Sunday homily. And a lot of times they would say things that would stir to help me prepare for the homily on Sunday. So I would kind of jokingly say, but I was serious, like, you may find yourself in the homily on Sunday if you're so it helps you engage into thought, like, oh, at the Mass. But on my own heart, I'm recognizing, like, the way children can see things with such a clarity,
yes,
and a purity, actually might get to the heart of something in a way that communicates it very beautifully. So,
totally. Well, because as you grow into adults, you develop these layers, right? For whatever reason, that's more psychology. I won't get into that, but yeah, things that shape how you view things. But when you're a kid, when you're a new human, you don't have as many of those.
Right.
Wow. Well, sounds like the school's doing a great job. I think they're very blessed to have you, the other priests, the teachers, the faculty. So thank you so much, Father, for kind of giving me insight into school world.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. They just finished last Friday, and the school faculty finished on Monday. So we're definitely going to miss them. I hope they get some well-deserved rest for the summer. And it seems like the summer is getting shorter and shorter. I was just talking with the family. Everyone comes back. Well, we won't think about that too much right now. So I won't talk about when they come back, but I'm excited to see them when they come back. And hopefully we'll see them in and out over the summer. But yeah, they're such a blessing to the parish.
Well, if any school parents or families are listening, hope you enjoy the summer, and we'll see you again in the fall. Father, thank you for being on here today.
Thank you, Andrew.